Good morning students. Today we will deal with the chapter Human Health and Disease. As we know, according to WHO, what is health? Health is a state of physical, social, emotional well-being of an organism. So basically health comprises of so many things, means you have to be physically fit, mentally stable, emotionally available, and these comprises of a perfect health. Socially also you should be very healthy. So basically we know that what are interfering with the health, what is health, these are, we have discussed that these are the criteria for a healthy individual. So what are those things which are interfering with a person being healthy? So there comes the birth of diseases. So what are diseases? Diseases are any atrophy, means they are any type of disturbance in the body. We can say it as any disorder or disturbance which is interfering with the person's health. So the diseases, what are the causes of diseases? The causes of diseases are pathogens. What are pathogens? Pathogens we can call them as disease causing agents can be known as pathogens. So we know diseases, we know pathogens. So sometimes what happens, the pathogens, they are the disease carriers, and it can be lethal also sometimes, means it can pertain to death also. There are some pathogens, disease causing agents. So like there are the common human disease which are caused by these disease causing agents. Disease causing agents means the carrier could be a bacteria, it could be a virus, fungus, protozoan and helminths. These are the various categories by which the diseases are being caused. So based on that, if we are discussing about diseases, diseases are communicable as well as non-communicable diseases. Communicable diseases are those diseases which are passed from one person to another, means they are communicated very fast, okay, by a person, be it by air, be it surface infection, be it droplet infection, means these are the various ways by it can spread. This rate of spreading is very fast in case of communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases means they are not caused by any agents or any carriers. They are present as a dysfunction in the body itself. So now we will see the various common human diseases which are caused by the various agents, like it's a bacteria, virus, fungus, protozoan and helminths. First, if we see the bacterial diseases, we know that there are so many bacteria, but there are very little bacteria which are pathogenic, which are disease causing. Pathogenic means which are disease causing to human beings. So among them there are two which are mentioned in your book, that is typhoid and pneumonia. See, first we have to know what is the disease, what are its causative agent, what are its mode of transmission, then what is the cause of infection, where it is, the site of infection, where it is taking place, and the symptoms. So suppose if it is the disease is typhoid. The other name for typhoid is enteric fever. Other name for typhoid is enteric fever. The causative agent is Salmonella typhi. The causative agent for this bacterial disease is Salmonella typhi. It's a bacteria. Then the site of infection is it infects the intestine. And how? Mode of transmission. How it is transmitted? It is transmitted through contaminated food and water. What are the symptoms? If a person is having typhoid, what will be its symptoms? They will have headache, they will have abdominal pain, they will feel discomfort, there is fever and there is diarrhea. These are the symptoms if a person is suffering from typhoid fever. And then how can we prevent this? We know that it is transmitted through contaminated food and water. That means we should avoid food which are being sold by the roadside vendors. Okay, we should not have, means if at all the tuition goes off, Nowadays it is not doing, but as and when you are out, we are going to parks and all, majority of you are seen near the Golgappa stalls which are roadside. So these are contaminated because they are left in the open. So nowadays what these people are doing also, they have made a, I saw that they have made a covering, inside that the Golgappas will be kept, so that it is not being exposed to air, water, contaminated air, means a roadside if it is there, so dust and all will come and deposit, flies can also come and sit. So these are the ways by which it will get contaminated. So the thing is that first of all we should avoid uncovered foods which are lying in the, which are sold by the roadside vendors. Then in the outside also, when you are going, means nothing should be left in the open, everything should be covered, means these are the reasons how we can stop it. Other than that, medications, if you have encountered with typhoid, you have to take for medicines, and then also it will be a remedy. Next we know is pneumonia. This is also a bacterial disease, pneumonia. It is caused by the bacteria Streptococcus pneumoniae. It is caused by the bacteria Streptococcus pneumoniae, and the site of infection, as we saw, the site of infection in case of typhoid is intestine. So the site for infection in pneumonia is lungs, and it is caused by, mode of transmission is droplet infection, means if a person has been encountered with pneumonia, so if their droplets are being found anywhere, and if a healthy person comes in contact with those droplets, then there is a sure chance of that person also being encountered with pneumonia. So what are the symptoms for pneumonia? Again, fever, cough, then painful and breath taking, means it is very painful, breathing is very painful, and the sputum is brown sputum in case of pneumonia, the bacterial disease pneumonia. So how can you prevent it? First of all, the prevention is that you should not be exposed to too much cold, so that you do not catch this bacteria, and if at all a person is being infected with pneumonia, so you should abstain from that person, means proper precaution should be taken, as we are following nowadays also, such precaution should be taken. The infected person's utensils, if that person is in house, their utensils, everything should be separated. It should not be mixed with the common persons in the household, and again the same thing, the medication should be taken. Next, if we come to the category, that is the viral disease. The peculiarity of a viral disease is that it always needs a host for its transmission to take place. Means if it is found outside the host, it is non-functional, but when it gains entry inside the host, then it will become functional. Like COVID, it is also a viral disease, right? So it needs a medium, it needs a host, then only its transmission will takes place. Okay. So viral disease, majority of the diseases which are disease causing are viral diseases, majority in the world, majority, and some are so harmful, just like the AIDS, it is also caused by a virus. So till now its cure has not been found. So among them, the viral disease mentioned in your syllabus, 2 viral diseases are mentioned, common cold, 3 sorry, common cold, dengue and chikungunya. Common cold, again the causative organism is a rhinoviruses, and where does it affect? The site of infection is respiratory tract. It also takes place by mode of transmission is droplet infection, and symptoms, every one of us have encountered common cold in our lifetime once or twice, or some people have experiences more than 20-30 times they have encountered with this, because it is common. That is why the name is that common cold. The symptoms will be nasal congestion, discharge, sore throat, cough, headache, and we know what medication should be taken for common cold. And the next is your dengue, again a viral fever, viral disease, dengue fever. Dengue fever is also known as break bone fever. I will say why it is known as break bone fever. Okay. So the dengue virus, the causative agent is again dengue virus or flavivirus. Then it is, the site of infection is skin and blood, the site of infection, and the mode of transmission is mosquito. Here Aedes mosquito, Aedes aegypti, Aedes aegypti. For common cold it is a rhinovirus causative agent. For it, this is Aedes aegypti, and again it is a mosquito vector. Then what are the symptoms? There are severe flu-like symptoms along with the sudden onset of fever, then painful headache and muscular and joint pains. That's why its name is break bone fever. Muscular and joint pain takes place in dengue. Then chikungunya. Chikungunya, again it's a viral disease. It is also caused by a virus, and the site of infection is again for chikungunya also the blood. Then mode of transmission is by the mosquito Aedes aegypti. So if we see chikungunya it is caused by the alpha virus. It is also known as toga virus. The site of infection is the nervous system, and the vector again it is the mosquito vector Aedes aegypti. The symptoms almost the same: fever and joint pain, headache, joint swelling. Then we see the protozoan diseases. Protozoan diseases like two are mentioned in your book, that is malaria and amoebiasis. Malaria again it is caused by the, we will discuss more about malaria, but now we will go through all at a glance. Then I will take malaria, singularly I will take malaria. So it is caused by the protozoan. There are 4 protozoans for the cause of malaria, that is plasmodium. It is caused by the protozoan plasmodium, that is Plasmodium vivax for malaria. Plasmodium vivax. So there are 4 basically: Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae. It should be given in small. Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium ovale and Plasmodium ovale. So these are the 4 causative agents, the protozoans, and the site of infection is liver and the RBCs. The mode of transmission is female Anopheles mosquito. The mode of transmission is female Anopheles mosquito, and the symptoms are again fever, headache, muscular pain, nausea. These are the symptoms for malaria. Now we see the next protozoan is the amoeba. The Amoebiasis, the disease is Amoebiasis. The causative agent for Amoebiasis is Entamoeba histolytica. It is a protozoan. And how is it caused? It is caused by the infected by the houseflies, means the carrier is the Musa domestica, that is the housefly. They are the carriers for it. What will be the symptoms of amoeba? There will be pain in the stomach, there will be nausea, there will be excessive headache, and then the loose motion, just like dysentery, it is loose motion. That is why it is also known as amoebic dysentery. It is also known as amoebic dysentery, amoebiasis. So what are the precautions? Means again you have to you don't need to take contaminated food, because the encapsulated embryo, so that is being ingested, that is amoeba, that is being ingested, it is that is being ingested along with the contaminated food particle. That is why it causes the amoebic dysentery. Then next we come to Helminthus. 2 Helminthus are mentioned, Ascariasis and Filariasis, those 2 diseases which are caused by Helminthus. The causative agent for Ascariasis is Ascaris lumbricoides, that is roundworm, Ascaris lumbricoides, and lumbricoides Ascaris lumbricoides. It is caused by that, and again it is the site for infection is the intestine. Mode of transmission is contaminated food and water, and the symptoms are abdominal pain, vomiting, headache, irritability, diarrhea. These are the symptoms for Ascariasis. The next disease is Filariasis. It is caused by Wucheria bancrofti. It is caused by the helminth, that is Wucheria bancrofti. It affects, the site of infection is the lymph vessels and the lymph nodes, and the mode of transmission is by the female Culex mosquito. This is by roundworm, it is a helminth disease, it is caused by roundworm. This is a helminth disease Filariasis, which is the mode of transmission is by the female Culex mosquito. Here for malaria it was female Anopheles mosquito. Here it is the female Culex mosquito. So again it is what will be the symptoms? That is obstruction of the lymph vessels, and that is why it causes the abnormalities of the swollen lymph nodes. That happens in case of filariasis. We had left ringworm. For ringworm, I had just mentioned that it is caused by a fungus, but which kind of fungus? It belongs to the 3 genera, that is Trichophyton, 3 genera of fungus, that is the 3 genera of fungus are Trichophyton, Microsporum, and Epidermophyton. The 3 genera of fungus are Trichophyton, Microsporum and Epidermophyton, 3 genera of fungus by which this ringworm will be caused, and the site for infection will be skin, nails and scalp. And again as I said, where it is formed, where there will be the heat and moisture and where in the groin areas, in the folds of the skins, and in between the toes also the ringworm form. That is why athlete's foot, it is also called a form of fungal infection. It is because it is found between the toes. So ringworm. So now we have completed all the diseases like bacterial, viral, fungal, protozoan and helminths. These are the common human diseases. Now we will see about malaria, in length about malaria. I have already mentioned what is malaria, what are the causative agents. Now we will see how malaria is caused. Malaria, as you can see in the diagram, that is the life cycle of a plasmodium. Malaria is caused by different types of plasmodium species, as I already mentioned: Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae and Plasmodium falciparum. It lives in the RBC of human. In its mature condition, it is called as a trophozoite. It is transmitted from one person to another by the bite of infected female Anopheles mosquito. Plasmodium vivax is a digenic parasite involving 2 hosts, man as the secondary host and female Anopheles mosquito as the primary host. The life cycle of Plasmodium involves 3 phases, namely schizogony, gamogony and sporogony. If you see in the diagram that when a mosquito, it bites the human, what it is sending inside is the sporozoites. So what are the sporozoites? The saliva, it contains the sporozoite. These sporozoites, when this, actually basically it is the oocyte which undergoes meiosis and then it forms sporozoites. I will explain, but these are the sporozoites which are entering. You just see the diagram. It is entering the liver. In the liver cells, hepatic cells of the liver, it undergoes multiple asexual fission, that is known as schizogony, and it produces merozoites. These merozoites are liberated from the liver cells and these penetrate the RBCs. When these penetrate the RBCs, these merozoites will rupture the RBCs. When it ruptures the RBCs, the erythrocyte lyses and it releases merozoite and hemoxin toxin into the blood, and lysis of red blood cells results in the cycles of fever. So whenever in malaria there are bouts of fever, so whenever there are after particular time again you get bouts of fever, means too much fever you will get, the temperature will go very high. So it is that stage, that means the liver, from the liver the merozoites are being secreted to the RBCs, it is infecting the RBCs, then you get bouts of fever. And this erythrocytic cycle, it repeats approximately every 48 to 72 hours or longer depending upon the plasmodium involved. This sudden release of merozoites triggers an attack on the RBCs. In the mosquito's gut, so these RBCs, when they rupture, they form gametocytes, means male and female gametes are formed. These male and female gametocytes, these are again infected from an infected person, means these are in the blood RBCs of the infected persons, the male and the female gametocytes. Again, when a mosquito comes and bites to the person infected with malaria, these male and female gametocytes, these enter the mosquito gut. These infected erythrocyte, these form a diploid zygote, means inside the gut of the mosquito, these form microgametocyte and macrogametocyte. That is, micro means the male gametocyte and macro means the female gametocyte, and then they again form zygote. After forming zygote, they undergo meiosis. when they undergo meiosis, then this oocyte, it is the oocyte stage after diploid zygote. This diploid zygote is known as the oocyst or the ookinete. These are again they undergo these go undergo meiosis, and these form sporozoites. It is these sporozoites which are present in the salivary gland of mosquito, which again it will go and when it will bite a healthy person, these are the sporozoites from the salivary gland of the mosquito which will be infected to the healthy person. Hence this cycle goes on. So the only possible prevention for malaria is that we should kill the insect vector when it lays eggs in water. These larvae hatch and develop in water, but when oil is spread over water surface, it will make it impossible for the mosquito larvae and pupae to breathe. Hence we can prevent the breeding of the plasmodium by this method. So this is how the life cycle of a plasmodium takes place in case of malaria. Now we will see immunology. What is immunology? Logy, as we know, it is study, and immuno means study of the immune system. So the study of the immune system is immunology. And what are the basic things, means what are the basic things which are covered in immunology? Immunology means this protects from various infections and all the mechanisms which are used for the protection from the environmental conditions which are foreign to the body. So when the immune system will function properly and efficiently, at that time we can say that the body is ready to fight against the disease, means we are immune to disease. So if a person's immunity is strong, they are more strong to fight against the diseases. And if the immunity system is weak, they are most susceptible. The word susceptible means prone to, jaldi unko disease ho jayega if the immunity system is very weak in the body. So normally there are many responses in the immune body. See, suppose there are foreign bodies which are foreign to the host. So what happens is the ability to distinguish the foreign molecules from self is the fundamental concept or the feature of the immune system. For the immune system, it will be able to distinguish which is foreign to the body and which is its own particle. So sometimes what happens, there is a distinction. Suppose a foreign body is entering the immune system, it destroys the foreign body. That is why it is known as immunity, it destroys, and that is why it helps us to fight against the diseases. But sometimes what happens that it fails to recognize the foreign bodies and the body's own organs, it fails to recognize. When it fails to recognize these two things, there happens the autoimmune diseases, means the body fails to recognize its own body. That is why the common among them, that is arthritis. Osteoarthritis means pertaining to the bones, means the fluid, synovial fluid. The rheumatic arthritis, the rheumatic arthritis is a classic example for autoimmune disorder, means in that the body fails to recognize its own cells and it damages its own cells, thus causing the disease. It is an autoimmune disorder. So what is that? The antigen. The main things in immune system is antigen and antibody. Antigen can be described as it is the any foreign recipient, that is any substance capable of eliciting immune response, means any substance which is capable of inciting an immune response, means provoking immune response, inciting, provoking. So that thing will be known as an antigen, any substance, it could be any substance. If that substance is capable of invoking an immune response, so that is known as antigen. So this is antigen. So what is antigen? It is antigen. Antigen means antibody generator. That is why antigen means the response will be a secretion of the antibody. The response will be secretion of the antibody, hence the antigen. And there are basically two main classes of immunity, that is innate immunity. If we go for immunity, there are basically two types of immunity. Immunity, that is innate and acquired. Innate immunity means it is present by birth. You are born with that immunity. It is inborn, innate. It is already present. That is innate immunity. Of the acquired immunity, that means after birth we are acquiring this immunity. There are two types of acquired immunity. That is cell mediated and humoral. There are two types of immunity, cell mediated and humoral. Again, I would like to focus on innate immunity once more, that what are the innate immunity which is present in your body. Like skin, this is also an innate immunity. It protects, prevents the entry of microbes. The pH of the skin, the pH is nearly 3.3 to 3.5, the pH. Sometimes it will, the pH, it retards the growth of the microbes, the skin. Then again the mucous membrane which is present in the nostrils. So that also prevents the entry of the microorganisms. Then the psychological barriers, physiological barriers, sorry. What are the physiological barriers? Like the temperature, the body temperature, it is also a barrier. And sometimes what happens, the fever, when the fever takes place, it also inhibits the growth of pathogens. It is a response, physiological barriers. Then the low pH which is present in the gut, acidity of the gastric juices, that is HCl. If suppose we have ingested the microbes, so that also, there also it will prevent. Then the chemical barriers are the lysozyme which are present. They also act as an antibacterial agent. Phagocytic barriers, just like the monocytes, neutrophils and macrophages, phagocytes, which rupture and digest the microorganisms. Then there are so many means there are barriers. Again the secondary barriers are like the inflammatory response which we give, the allergic responses, inflammatory responses which will give, which will help, which induce the leakage of vascular fluid, which contains chemotactic substances, signals, serotonin, histamine, prostaglandins, means these are allergic responses which are already present, that are the innate immunity. And about acquired immunities, there are two types of acquired immunity, cell mediated immunity and humoral immunity. Cell mediated immunity means when the pathogens are destroyed by the cells without producing any antibodies. Antibodies are not produced in cell mediated immunity. There is a cell mediated response, it is brought about by the T cells, macrophages and natural killer cells. Okay. So other immunity is the humoral immunity. Humoral immunity means they need immunity, the antibody mediated immunity or humoral immunity means this is brought about by the B cells. Humoral immunity is brought about the B cells which are triggered by the T cells, means T cells are the memory T cells which help it identify ki yes, you have to secrete antibodies for it. Humoral is also known as antibody mediated. Means in cell mediated immunity there is no production of antibodies, the microbes are killed as it. But in the humoral immunity, that comes in acquired immunity, what happens, the B cells are triggered by the memory T cells. So basically then it only happens in humoral immunity is only observed in vertebrates, whereas cell mediated can be observed in other forms also, but the humoral immunity is a characteristic features of the vertebrates. So based on that, there are types of, this is acquired immunity, two are there, cell mediated and humoral. Types of acquired, that is active and passive, both. Active immunity means it is provided by the body itself, means the body is producing antibodies, the body is giving a response. It is a active immunity is person's immune response, means active, the person is active and how they will produce the immune response. And in the passive means the person is not producing any antibodies, means it is administered from outside, that is why it is passive, it is not working for it. So for active immunity the body is synthesizing antibodies, so that is why it is active. So these are the two types of acquired immunity. Again, when we see vaccine, we will discuss in the next chapter. Thank you children, have a good day.